my channel, or if you're new, hi, my name is Allie, and this is my horror, bookish, all over the place channel. In today's video, I am reading something I never thought I would. Mainly because I've just never had the desire, or I don't see the appeal of reading books about aliens. Now, don't get me wrong, I love aliens. I think the idea of aliens is something that, like, a lot of us humans think about, like, are they out there? Do they exist? I'm looking into all of the conspiracy theories too, and not gonna lie, sometimes they can be kind of scary looking into. In my childhood, although the early days didn't consist of a lot of horror movies unless I was at like my dad's side of the family, and then of course like, you know, a lot more horror whenever I was a teenager. But when I was much younger, we didn't really have a whole lot of horror in the house, but one that my family did agree on was Signs, and we watched Signs. I feel like if I could confidently say what was our family's movie, it would probably be Signs, because we watched that movie. That and Lord of the Rings, we watched, I think, more than anything else. But I don't know, I've just never had the desire to pick up a book about aliens. And I actually have not one, but 2 copies of E.T. Of course, these are just like a novelization of like the screenplay or whatever from the movie, but I just love the old paperback vibe and the old covers so much. Don't think I'm reading those in this video, but I'm a part of a book club called In the Void, and I am slacking this year, you guys. I had a really hard time between quarter 2 and quarter 3 while they were doing those book picks, and wasn't able to really participate in them. And quarter 2 pick was Stinger by Robert McCammon. And this is, from what I have seen, I don't know much about it, from what I have seen, it's some type of unearthly being. It's like an alien. I don't have a physical copy, so I'm gonna throw it up here. I am trying to get a copy of this. I'm trying to get my hands on it. Hopefully I can in this video. If not, it may just be an audiobook. But yeah, I'm looking. Not gonna lie though, like the desire to pick it up was kind of low already because of the whole like alien aspect. But I've heard amazing things about Robert McCammon's books. I've been wanting to get to Boy's Life for so long. So yeah, this might be my first from him. Then one of my friends, who is also in the Void book club, she is doing a 12 horror icon challenge this year, and one of hers is H.G. Wells, author of The War of the World. And this is supposed to be such an amazing book. I've heard a lot about it. Honestly, like I've heard that people like it, and like it's one to go back and read. But like, I didn't know all the details of this one, so then when I found out that it falls into this category too, I'm just like, how many alien books? Then, as you guys know, I've been going down the line of Stephen King books over the past couple of years, and I still have not made it to the Tommyknockers. And to my surprise, I find out that this also has something to do with some type of like unearthly alien. Obviously, you guys can tell that like I am avoiding synopses because I feel too spoiled from a book's plot if I read too many synopses. So like I'm trying to avoid that, while also like just finding out all of these different books that have plots around unearthly beings and aliens. And then Aardvark. For September, I got Andrew Joseph White's You Weren't Meant to Be Human. And this is also supposed to be like alien vibes. So I'm like, well, there you go. I got a full alien TBR, and that is what I'm going to be reading for you guys in this video and letting you know what I think. I'm going to take you guys along on the journey with me. I am pre-filming this because I have an inkling that I'm going to have to pause and take breaks from alien books here and there and jump into other ones. So I thought I'd start it now so that hopefully you guys see it sometime the end of this year. Not sure which one I'm starting yet, so I'm gonna figure that out and then I will check back in.
Shoulder this, say whatever you like. Wanna get through this night alive. Tired of shifting side to side. Always on edge and now shifter. Need you around, yeah. So stay a while. Give me all your attention, shapeshifter. This is all it all. Give me all your attention, shapeshifter. Emotional, yeah. Give me all your attention, baby.
Hello, you guys. It's honestly been a minute since I last checked in on this video. I think I was having a moment that day of being like, I'm wearing green eyeshadow and I feel put together. I need to make the intro. And then I did nothing with the video. But you best believe a couple days ago, my Libby app reminded me that I only had a few days left of my Tommyknockers audiobook. And I mean, this is a little bit of a chunk for my end of the year reads, so I thought, let's dive back in. Also, it does help that I feel put together again, although, you know, if you see the light blue oversized shirt, that I've had it. It's the end of the day. I'm done. I'm comfy. This is the comfiest shirt I own. When I'm in it, I am thriving and getting cozy and just living my best life because I deserve it after the day I've had, okay? I did look rather cute earlier though. I was more put together. Perfect timing for this video because I don't have any other video concepts where I would talk about this. And spoiler, kind of not a spoiler, I feel like it's probably common knowledge at this point that we all know Pennywise is an alien, right? Okay. It is an alien, and I have been watching the Welcome to Derry series. I love it so much. They have done a phenomenal job on this show. It's on HBO Max, and currently, as I'm filming this, we just watched episode 3. So there's only 3 episodes out so far. And I'm just absolutely loving it. But prior to the show coming out, I've known about it for a while, but all of their like promos that they like did for the show, super, you know, big cheese smiles and everything is like grand and dandy, and you know, the horrors that are happening like behind them, like the theme song and everything. Oh, it's so good. But there's a particular photo that I was so inspired to recreate and do something with, so that's what I did today. I used UV resin on a popcorn bucket and nail polish to make a bloody popcorn bucket and pop some popcorn. I did my hair. I crocheted my first ever hair bow. It's hard to see now, but it's actually really cute. I did it all today. I crocheted the entire thing today, and kind of just pieced the look together all day. I ended up using one of James's button-ups, and I put one of my blue shirts over it and just played into the makeup and everything, the look. I absolutely loved how the shots turned out, and the boys helped me take the photos. I would like set up my camera, the angles I would want. I'd be like, okay, hit the button. And yeah, it went well for a while until people were getting tired and hungry. And we also literally finished doing that. And then I was literally airdropping the photos, trying to edit them and everything while heading to Roman's first basketball game tonight. And yeah, I literally showed up at Roman's basketball game. I changed my shirt so I wasn't as dressy. I threw on like one of my sweaters. So I had my sweater on, but I had like this bow in my hair, bright red lip, still pretty glam, but like, I don't know if you guys can really tell now. I've washed my hands quite a few times since, but it's still pretty stained. One of the shots was like a bloody hand holding popcorn. So I had dye and corn syrup to make fake blood, and it stains, let me tell you. I've learned my lesson a long time ago when I did my Carrie look, but happens every time. Anyway, so that was what I did tonight, and then we came back home and we watched the 3rd episode of Welcome to Derry. I am posting my Derry look on Instagram tomorrow. I'm super excited. One of my friends was hyping me up about it, so besides that, it's been cat snuggles and just relaxing because it's only Wednesday and I feel dead this week. I have made some progress into the Tommyknockers. I think I'm actually a little bit further than this in the audiobook. Yeah, I'm in book 2, chapter 5, which is quite a few ways after this. I was listening to this earlier whenever I was crocheting my bow and getting ready and stuff, so I have made a little bit of a way. I only have a couple more days of my audiobook, so I'm gonna have to really power through, or I'll be reading the last bits of it physically, which is fine. I am kind of doing like a tandem back and forth. And I've enjoyed it so far. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of Needful Things, that type of style. Yeah, we start off with Roberta and her dog, who they are the ones who go out in the forest and find this piece of metal in the ground. And obviously we know it's going to like be something major, but she's unable to like dig it up herself, and she kind of calls on a friend of hers, past lover, if you will, to come and help her. And we get a backstory of her life. We get a backstory of his life. There's these moments of them together, and now she's trying to explain it to him, and he keeps like, not really thinking that she's crazy, but like, but that she may need help. Like, what she's saying isn't making sense, and he's worried about her. And she keeps telling herself like, he'll know soon, he'll know soon. And then all of a sudden, like, it flips to a new person, and we get like their life story, and up until the same point where we left off with something strange that happened. It's kind of like at this moment, something strange is happening to all of these people, and we're going to slowly get each one of their stories and lead up to what it is. And I mean, they've been off the wall things. Like, one of these women has a picture of Jesus over her TV, and it talks to her one day and tells her that her husband's having an affair. I mean, they're just off the wall things that are happening, but they're all happening at the same time because of something. And also the whole like nursery rhyme of the Tommyknockers at the beginning was kind of creepy. I feel like it's been interesting and kind of just a silly time, like Needful Things. I feel like it hasn't been too scary or too alien-ish yet, although we know something is in the woods, something that is making all of these people go through some type of strange, unexplainable event at the same time. Something's causing that. So I'm excited to continue reading and see where I get. Also, when I did my intro, I only had my paperback. I since then have bought a hardback copy of the Tommyknockers. It's actually in really good shape for being an older edition. That's all I really have to say about it. But I wanted to check in before I go and wash my face. You cannot claw my purse. How you doing? What are you doing? You're just so cute. It's hard for you guys to tell, but like, if there was ever an alien invasion, this is the type of weather I would expect. It's so like creepy and foggy and just gives you the heebie-jeebies. In the daylight, it was really pretty. It looked more like Hoa 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 season, but like now it's giving the Tommyknockers are in my backyard. The video's not even doing it justice of how foggy and just misty and it is. know about you guys, but I am surprised that you're seeing me already because I have actually finished the Tommyknockers. And it is a surprise for me. This one was rather hard for me to get through. I think it was one of those times where like I am glad for my procrastination because I feel like if I had this audiobook for longer than what I did, I would have put this book off for much longer. Only having like a few days left of it really made me buckle down and be like, nope, I'm not DNFing this. I want to get through this. And I know the audiobook will help me. So I really just stayed busy and kept the audiobook. I did tandem read a little bit, but when I tell you this one is so wordy that I did have a rather hard time really staying focused with it. I'm so sorry if you can hear one of my neighbors mowing. They literally just started as soon as I hit record. I will say I got on Goodreads last night and went to the Tommyknockers to see like some different reviews, and many people who read this back in the day said that like when they first read it they were just like, what? And just really weren't fans of it, whether it was because of like the Tommyknocker like alien vibes or just the writing style in general. And then fast forward to like the past 5 to 10 years, people have been rereading it and enjoying it so much more because it really feels like a part of that time. This came out in '87. I have a little bit to talk about because one of the reviews I seen was from Grady Hendrix, who accepted my friend request on Goodreads, and I'm so glad because his reading taste is so interesting to me and I just love to see what he reads. And I also really love his reviews. He did a whole article for Reactor on his reread of the Tommyknockers, and so many fascinating points were made in this. I'll try to remember to link it below for you guys if you want to check out the entire thing. If you've recently read this or want to know more, there is spoilers in the article, so beware of that if you haven't read it. First of all, some things that like I did pick up on that he had mentioned in here. There is a reference to a sewer or like storm drain. He called it, what did he call it? Like a, what are those called? Like the is it manhole? Storm like drainage thing where Pennywise is in it, like when he's talking to Georgie. This character, when he's driving through Derry, he's like, and I could have sworn I seen a clown peering at me from the storage drain or whatever. But like Cujo gets a shout out. They bring up Johnny Smith from the Dead Zone. This one I also picked up on. Our main character, Roberta, Bobby, she is a writer, and there's a reference saying like she writes the good stuff, end quote, not like that guy who writes horror books with curse words up in Bangor, which is Stephen King. And apparently, I didn't know this unless I read this article. It's not really spoilery, but like at the end, there is a mention of a G.I. Joe action figure. You guys, this book is just weird. Bear with me. Like, the stuff in this book is just weird. But yes, there is mention of a G.I. Joe action figure called Crystal Ball, and that G.I. Joe was designed by Owen King, his son, in a write-in contest. He also says that King said that H.P. Lovecraft, The Color Out of Space, was kind of like an inspiration for this, and there's also apparently a certain like scene in this is also inspired by an Edgar Allan Poe short story that I have actually read, so I found that that was really interesting as well. And just the whole fact that like Derry is a town that's mentioned that they're going to in this book was really cool as well. Quick little backstory, because again, you guys can read the whole article, but he just talks about how like he published this in '87. He had like a 2-book deal, and they were with 2 different publishing things because his editor switched from Viking to Putman, and to show respect to him, he went ahead and published Misery, went to Viking Publishing, and then Tommyknockers went to Putman because of his friend editor there. It's probably like, whoa, what a strange one for that. But this sold so much. It was like one of the top horrors of the year. Obviously, it's Stephen King. It had a first printing of 1.2 million copies and wound up in the third best-selling book of the 1980s with 1.4 million books sold. That's insane. One thing that Stephen King said about Tommyknockers. He said it just went on and on. It was a hard one to write, to keep track of all those people in the story. When I finished the first draft, it looked like a Bataan death march with lots of cross outs and stuff. I locked myself in the bathroom and laughed hysterically and cried and then laughed again. I never did that with a book. He finished the first draft of the Tommyknockers in 1983 while writing The Talisman and Eye of the Dragon. Completed the first draft on May 19th, 1987, 6 months before the book hit shelves in November of 87. When he was finished, he didn't write for a year. I feel like this book like cursed him in a way. He said I would do stuff and it would fall apart like wet tissue paper. I don't know how to describe it except that it was the most impotent, nasty, awful feeling. 1988 would be the first year in modern history without a Stephen King book. In an interview, he said, "Where does a 10,000-pound gorilla sit? You get all this freedom. It can lead to self-indulgence. I've been down that road, probably most notably with the Tommyknockers." Obviously, he's not a fan of this one. This is one that you can tell, like, over the years has not held up for him, and he's not as proud of it as he is his other ones. Not to say that this is a horrible book. I think it's really intriguing. It's kind of a fever dream at times, and definitely too wordy. But at the same time, there is this eerie weirdness to it. It's a very known thing that he was very strung out when he wrote this, and you can definitely tell within the writing. Some of the objects that are doing things that they shouldn't do, how some of the technology works around here is odd. Our characters are odd, but it is definitely more of like a mind control type of invasion, and it's just so intriguing and interesting, fascinating at the same time, although some parts are very wordy and boring. I think I finally made it to like around 400 pages and it got good, and I was like, oh my gosh, the way he was describing the horror of what something looked like and what this scene had, but it was over so fast and it went back to like just being so wordy, and I'm like, I like the Needful Things vibe where we're getting so many different people's like different POVs and like what they're going through, and some of them were great. The magician one, phenomenal, but like some of it was just not needed too, and it just really made me struggle a lot of the way through this book. And I don't know, the ending bits, I would say like the last 100 pages just fell kind of flat for me. I was just kind of like, that's what you're giving me? In a way it makes sense, but it was also just kind of like, I don't even know, just very odd and not what I was expecting. And I think this could also be are alien books for me? I don't know. I feel like this vlog is going to figure that out for me, or I'm going to figure that out in this vlog. If I like these type of books and the different ones, which ones work best for me. As for the Tommyknockers, I think I'm landing at a 3. It's not an all-time favorite. I didn't love all of it, but I did like a good portion of this, and I'm glad it's another Stephen King that's checked off the list that I've read.
since I've checked in with you guys. Not only have I finished another book for this video, but I am sick, so I'm gonna try to review this. I'm a little bit like foggy in the brain right now, and I might sound horrible, and I really apologize. I will try to edit out any sniffling and stuff like that. I'm just kind of at the tail end of it, so it's just like drainage and I just sound rough. Since I left you guys though, I was just going to start The War of the Worlds. This is by H.G. Wells. I originally planned on sitting down and starting this last night so that I could check in with you guys and be like, I am doing something with this video. And then I sat down and I read this in one sitting. Like, I couldn't put it down. I did have the audio through my library Hoopla because I was doing like laundry, so whenever I got up I would switch to the audio and go and fold a load of laundry or something like that, and then I would come right back to this. But it is, I believe, right under 300 pages. No, it's under 200 pages. I don't know why. Again, the brain fog. Yeah, it's right under 200 pages, and it just reads very quickly, but I love how this is sectioned off, and this is obviously a library copy. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I get like a classic that looks like this from my library, I just feel like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Like, look at me. First published in 1898. I don't think I've ever read anything from H.G. Wells. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and with the book being written this long ago, you definitely don't know what you're getting into. You don't know like how the writing's going to be, and there is times in this where it is a little bit slower and some of the sentences going together, I'm like, wait, what? Like, what does that mean? But for the most part, I will say this was pretty cut clear, like, throughout. It felt not as aged as it actually is, and I really enjoyed that, and I feel like it's so ahead of its time when it comes to like an alien invasion, because that's literally what this is about. It's sectioned into different books, and then obviously chapters, but I love that the chapters are actually named about like what is going on, like the eve of the war, the falling star, on Horsell Common, the cylinder opens, the heat ray, and it just goes on, like how I reached home, Friday night, the fighting begins, in the storm. Like, it really just paints the picture and lays it all out from like how things were before this happened, what happened that caused it, this like falling star, which we get in a lot of books and movies and stuff. And I feel like it's props to H.G. Wells for that. This literally says, Hubert George Wells was born in Bromley, Kent, where his father kept a store and his mother was a maid. He served as a draper's apprentice and a chemist assistant before attending Midhurst Grammar School. Upon graduation, he worked in a London dry goods firm. A scholarship enabled him to attend the Royal College of Science, where he studied under T.H. Huxley. After receiving his degree, he taught science until tuberculosis forced him to retire from active life for several years, and he started to write. In 1891, the Fortnightly Review published one of his essays, and he began his long and prolific literary career. His many novels include science fiction, The Time Machine, The War of the Worlds, and The First Men in the Moon. I think it might have been on Goodreads. For countless centuries, Mars has been the star of war. The night after a shooting star is seen streaking through the sky from Mars, a cylinder is discovered on Horsell Common near London. At first, native locals approach the cylinder armed just with a white flag, only to be quickly killed by an all-destroying heat ray as terrifying tentacled invaders emerge. Soon, the whole of human civilization is under threat as powerful Martians build gigantic killing machines, destroy all in their path with black gas and burning rays, and feast on the warm blood of trapped, still living human prey. The forces of the earth, however, may prove harder to beat than they first appear. The first modern tale of alien invasion, The War of the Worlds, remains one of the most influential of the science fiction works. but I had read somewhere where like he is pretty much like what Edgar Allan Poe was for like melancholy horror. He is what like the first steps into the science fiction genre and like what started it, like the grandfather of science fiction. And I absolutely love that because you really got that throughout this book. I personally really loved the whole beginning, the aspect of like what people on the world would do if something like this was to happen and like their first reactions to things, and obviously not being incredibly smart about it. I think nowadays there would be a lot more people, I feel like it'd be more 50-50, like there'd be a lot of people that would be a lot more smart about it and keep their distance, where there would be a lot of people that were also just like curious and like, I mean nowadays it's like for the views, but like this being written back in the time that it is and how people didn't really have technology or different things to really use to figure out like what was going on or anything, but also knowing that like this was already in people's minds back then is so crazy too, which obviously I guess it would be. There's different planets and you always are going to wonder if there's other life forms out there, but I don't know, it just seems like something that would be so much more like satire and taboo for that time. We follow this guy who is going through the motions of everything. He is somebody who can get away. He's seeing things happening from afar. He is trying to get to like his family, and ultimately like it really goes into the whole aspect, not just the invasion, but like what happens when these tentacled alien beings take over and imprison humans and what that looks like, and also really goes into like the machinery and stuff that they have, which I'm sure at its time was just like, wow, like this is incredible. He really paints the picture. I had an awesome time with this one, but with that being said, this doesn't feel like a perfect 5-star. I feel like for its time, it's so ahead of its time, and it's a really fun, fast-paced one to pick up and read, especially if you like alien books. I'm glad that since it's like the first of its kind, I was able to pick it up and read it. I think I'm landing at more of a 4-star. I really, really liked it. It doesn't just scream 5-star like all-time favorite for me. I feel like with classics, to get a 5-star, it's gonna be more so like horror classics that are just, you know, my taste, if you will. Definitely better than the Tommyknockers. And that's saying something because I love Stephen King. But yeah, I'm really glad that I got to this. And I'm not gonna lie, there is different covers of this book. I will throw up for you guys, but like whenever, I don't know if it's just like the modern like monster romance aspect of things or what, but when I hear like alien tentacle beings, I'm thinking more like Davy Jones or like, I don't know, like some type of other tentacled being. I'm not thinking about like these mechanical beings, which I guess not all the covers look like mechanical ones, but they almost look like Dr. Octopus like grabbers, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I just didn't picture what's on the cover of these books. I pictured something very different, but again, I think it's the monster romance in my head. I am back briefly for this video to let you know that I have finished another story. It was another short one, classic, that read pretty quickly. So kind of feel like a broken record here because I feel like I could just say ditto to everything I said about H.G. Wells' story, because this is another classic that I feel like was written well before its time in a sense of what was described and told in this story. I'm talking about The Color Out of Space. I was able to get an audiobook through my library of this. This is by H.P. Lovecraft. It was a monstrous constellation of unnatural light, like a glutted swarm of corpse-fed fireflies dancing hellish sarabands over an accursed marsh. I feel like this one having a little bit more of like a horror element than just the sci-fi alien vibe, of people kind of like losing their minds and even dying.
This is more of like a meteorite that hits Earth. Instead of like an almost alien vibe, it's almost just like this type of entity thing that is kind of poisoning everything, if you will. The descriptions of this were frightening, but also stunning. I have not really read H.P. Lovecraft, so I don't really know what to expect with a lot of his other work, but I found this to be very interesting. I feel like there was definitely moments that would kind of lose me a little bit, and then I would have to jump back into it, which I feel like is very common with certain classics. So I don't think that his writing style would be really an all-time favorite for me. I definitely would prefer exploring it a little bit more, but I don't know, I just found the way the story was told in almost like an outer space hitting Earth moment to be really cool. Definitely a classic you should check out if you're into any type of like space related things landing on Earth, or, and again, I don't really know if I could really say that this is an alien story as much as it is just something evil from outer space. And I think that there's still something there to appreciate with going into books that have alien themes. Yeah, I landed at a 4-star. Not only is it another horror icon classic to check off my list, but another book I thought I would mention in this video. Okay. Don't mind me, I just got off work. I'm gonna add some mascara and lipstick to like level up my look. So I am currently editing and going through the footage that I have for this video, and I realized that I'm missing footage. I don't know what happened to it, but I read You Weren't Meant to Be Human. I filmed 2 or 3 different clips from this book, you guys. The forehead is being revealed and the roots. Maybe it needs to go more. Okay, that's better. I started it and I was kind of like feeling weird about it. It's one of those things where I don't necessarily think it's the author. Like, the writing was pretty intriguing. I enjoyed it. I just think I think part of it was the general idea that I had going into this, and hearing, I don't even know from where, I can't say where, but I had heard that this was an alien book, and like, sure, there is this type of entity thing that I guess you could like classify as a quote-unquote alien. Let me do my due diligence and read you guys the synopsis before I do this. Yeah, it says Alien meets Midsummer. And this chilling novel, festering masses of worms and flies have taken root in dark corners across Appalachia. In exchange for unwavering loyalty and fresh corpses, these hives offer a few struggling humans salvation. A fresh start. It's an offer that none refuse. So it's like they take these people who are lost in life. This could be somebody who's maybe like newly like homeless or running away from something from their past. Somebody young, like our character, who is like discovering themselves. It's like a self-discovery novel about this person named Crane that believe they're running away from home, and their background home, again, it's been like a couple of weeks since I've read this, you guys, more than a couple of weeks, and my brain is like already mush. They are a transgender man, and so it has a lot of that representation there of not being accepted even by your family and feeling like the outsider, and really dives into a lot of that. And that was honestly probably the best part, I feel like, of this book, the way this author went about it, telling the story and the heart that went into how brutally honest it was and heartbreaking at times, and at the same time a beautiful self-discovery. The writing with like the details and the description across Appalachia was stunning, beautiful. Even like the gory and like gross things that were described were just so beautifully but yet like so grossly done that I loved that. But this hive will take in these people who feel unwanted in life, and all they have to do is offer up other beings to it, keep it fed. Crane is grateful. Among his hive's followers, Crane has found a chance to transition, to never speak again, to live a life that won't destroy him. Growing up transgender, there's this talk of not wanting to use his voice. And I found that really interesting and something that I haven't seen as a transgender representation in a book before. And I just found that very interesting. And again, I feel like the word here is just like such good representation. I'm sure that there's others out there. I'm sure that there are people out there that can really relate with that. And I don't know, I just found it very interesting. So our character is mute by choice. He even met Levi, a handsome ex-Marine and brutal killer who treats him like a real man mostly. But when Levi gets Crane pregnant and the hive demands the child's birth no matter the cost, Crane's desperation to make it stop will drive the community that saved him into a devastating spiral that can only end in blood. It's a dark one. Check your triggers because it really goes there with quite a few things. I feel like in a lot of ways it would be very therapeutic for some people to read and relate with, you know, these characters. But it was really hard to get through. This is a book that I sat down multiple times because I was like, this is so heavy. And I read this in January, and my mental health just really wasn't great in January already. So I was like, I had to keep taking breaks. And I think that kind of took me out of the alien aspect. We do have this creature-like thing, the hive, and it was really interesting. If you get the audiobook, it has a creepy-ass voice every time it talks. And the first time it said something, I was like, oh my God, what is that? Yeah, it quite literally scared the shit out of me. I love the writing. I did like our main character, Crane. I thought he was very interesting. I liked learning about him and his story and trauma and how it's caused him to be the person that he is. And also to just see like his, you know, time with the hive, his story, like coming, you know, full circle of also having this like pent up like rage building in him, and no pun intended, but finding his voice. I feel like is like the best thing to say, because something that he really struggles with, but also like there's so many instances in this where he's being told what to do and who to be, and it's just devastating and heartbreaking, and you just feel so bad for him. And definitely interesting. I've never read anything like this before. And everything that I've mentioned so far is my favorite parts about this. The horror was great. I thought it was spooky, scary at times, but I think the real horror here is the real life horror of the way this character feels and what they're being forced to go through, and to just think about all of the bases that Andrew Joseph White is touching on in this. Not only the representation of a transgender man, but also forced childbirth, the fact that, you know, women's health care is just in shambles. I feel like there's metaphors and things to take away from that, but I also feel like this hive taking these people in is another metaphor on the many, many people out there who are shunned away for who they are and what their beliefs are every single day, and also just the many, many people who, some way or another, unfortunately in their life, they have found themselves in a situation where they need help and they become homeless. And there's so many homeless people out there, and I feel like the metaphor is taken away of like the help that they sometimes, not even always, get isn't always what's best for them, and it sometimes is really tragic. And I know that there's incredible people out there and incredible nonprofits and organizations that, you know, really try to help as much as they can, and it's just a sad state our world's in. And I think all of that mixed with also reading about it, just, oh my goodness, it was a lot to take in. But I thought all of those things were very important to talk about, and I will leave you guys with this. While I loved all of those aspects of it, it still was a rather hard one for me to get through. Not really my type of horror either. I definitely would have liked more also. I think like certain characters in this just really irked me so bad, to a point to where it was really hard for me to also pick it up because of that. So I feel like I didn't enjoy my time as much as I would have liked to with this, and I honestly don't think you're supposed to, but because of that, it just isn't my cup of tea. I also am not really a fan of when pregnancy is kind of like the twist, or not really twist because we know from the synopsis, but like the, you know, main forefront of something. It's a hard one, I feel like, to swallow. And there was also just so many sections of this that I felt like didn't really do much for the story, and there's parts of it that are somewhat forgettable because it's been a few weeks, and some parts of this have already slipped my mind. But overall, I feel like if this is a representation for you, you know, I love reading books that I can relate with the characters and the traumas and stuff that they go through. So I definitely would recommend it for people who think that it would do that for them. I definitely will be checking out more of Andrew Joseph White, but I am landing at a 3-star for this one. And with that being said, more put together somewhat. I look like a hot mess, but I will say I have now, since it's been quite some time, I have started Stinger, my last book for this video, and I'm so glad because, oh my gosh, the amount of alien shit that I've consumed, oh my gosh. And I still have another one that I have to get to. Little sneak peek, I guess, if you will, because I don't know if I'm going to film these quarterly or if it's just going to be an end of the year video, but I am participating in Spicy Cat's Monster Romance. You guys should definitely check it out. It is a monthly. She pulls a card, almost like a tarot card. It's so cool, but she pulls a card, and whatever the card is, like, we already know what it could be. We know all the prompts, and we know there's easy mode or hard mode if you want to do the hard mode. But yeah, it's so cool and so creative. And I read A Monster Romance last month, and I got to read another one this month, and I think it's gonna be Ice Planet Barbarians. I don't know, but yeah, another alien. But definitely check it out. I don't know when you guys are gonna see this video because I'm so behind on posting, but you should definitely check it out and maybe participate for the rest of it if Monster Romance is your thing, or if you're like me and you want to dabble more into it for fun. Being said, I have this little basket of a bunch of bookmarks. I am in this book club called In the Void. I've talked about it many times. And one of the picks last year that I didn't get to, I actually think this is my last one that I have to check off my list, is Stinger by Robert McCammon. I think. Anyways, I was gonna go through, they have the coolest bookmarks. This was for Revenge, and this one was for Breathe In, Bleed Out. So for each book pick, if you know, subscribe to like the Patreon or whatever, you get bookmarks, and they're always so cool. That was Paul Tremblay's horror movie. I have so many of them now too, but I know I have Stinger in here somewhere. Mary by Nat Cassidy. But I have started Stinger, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I love that one. And I'm actually really enjoying it so far. It feels almost like like an actual alien that's a little bit more fun, more lighthearted than You Aren't Meant to Be Human. Here it is. This is the Stinger one. Isn't that cool? I wish I had a physical copy of the book so I could actually use it, but I am doing it via audio. It is rather long, so we'll see how long it takes. To wrap up, because I don't really have too much left, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish it today. If I do, I might check in with you guys and maybe wrap up this video, but yeah, it's taking me a little bit longer than I wanted to get through this book. It is kind of like some of the past Alien ones that I've talked about, where we have, I'm just gonna read you guys the synopsis because I also don't wanna spoil anything. Takes place during a single 24-hour period in Inferno, Texas. Inferno is a town in trouble, driven to the brink by racial tension, gang violence, and a collapsing economy. Those aspects of it I really didn't really care for. It just showed some really just horrible characters, and I feel like, sure, it's good to have politics and stuff like that in books. But I'm not gonna lie, I did feel a little out of sorts with the story so far. Also, I think it comes in with like having the hate speech, the slurs and stuff like that, that like I could really just do without. But things can always get worse, and they do so with astonishing speed when an unidentified spacecraft crash lands in the desert outside of town, followed by a second craft bearing the alien being who will soon be known as Stinger. Stinger is a kind of interstellar hunter on a mission he intends to complete whatever the cost. He brings with him an endless array of technological marvels and an infinite capacity for destruction that threatens the existence of Inferno, its inhabitants, and the larger world beyond. Yeah, it's an alien invasion, pretty much. I mean, it's not like a lot of aliens, but there's a lot going on here. It reads kind of like a Stephen King. This is my first Robert McCammon, but I feel like the setup with the characters and the story reads so much like a Stephen King to me. I'm not really vibing with said characters at all. This is one of those books that like I could care less about the characters. Like I don't really even care in the end. I'm just here for like the plot, what actually happens, and let's call it a day. That's just how I feel right now. Also, I think because of that and because I'm doing audiobook, I've said it before, but I'm so horrible remembering names whenever I'm listening to an audiobook versus reading it, so I apologize. I don't know any of these people's names. I know like when I'm listening to it, I can keep up with the story, so that's nice that it's written in a way that I can keep up with it even if I'm not super familiar with each of their names. I still know who they're talking about and who's talking and all of that. But this one, I feel like also, like Stephen King, it's a little wordy, it's a little much. I feel like it could have been cut down a lot. I'm towards the end and I just feel like there could have been so much cut out. But I feel like he wanted this build up of, it's not only, so setting like the scene, a spacecraft lands and this entity, alien if you will, takes over the body of a little girl. And so they're imprisoning her, and she's telling them, like, you have to get me back home or it's going to be bad for all of us. And they're like, is that a threat? So, like, they're scared, you know? And come to find out, it's because there is another alien that crash landed too that is like an alien bounty hunter coming after her. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole story. They are getting all of this information, which is cool because we're learning about her and how quickly she can like process things and start talking. And she's telling them like, I'm not hurting this little girl, I'm keeping her safe, but I need to do this to communicate with you guys. All of those aspects were really cool. It just feels like a very fun adventure book so far. And I really, really liked that. But then we kind of shift into Stinger's point of view. And he is this bad alien who is trying to get to her. And he's just causing destruction along the way. He is also like possessing other humans. And we get a bunch of these short, like, you know, little side things of like somebody acting strange because it's not them, you know, and some of them were really creepy. I really liked those aspects of it, but the build up to where we are now, I just kind of feel like was a little bit sooner than what it is. I don't know how many pages this book is, but it is long, like too long for what it is. I don't know. I feel like it's just gonna kind of be like a big bang ending and then everybody is just, you know, gonna go on with life. But I will say the descriptions of Stinger and like stuff like that is actually really cool too. Yeah, kind of looks somewhat like that. The way things are described and all of that, good. But I don't know. I think I'm also just checking out of alien books at this point, but I'm excited to wrap it up. You guys, I'm so exhausted. It's late. I'm about to go to bed. And I completely forgot I didn't wrap up this video. So before we got super busy tonight, I did in fact finish Stinger. I will just say, because I'm so tired, I continued to not like these characters. They were annoying, unfortunately. Even up until the very, very end, there was this moment where, I'm just going to say this because I have to. There's this moment where a character is like, ooh, her boobs and her nipples. I could just reach out and touch them and I don't think she would even notice. Like she's asleep or something and it's just like, what? What? Like, sir? That's harassment. Sir? Yeah, I continue to not care about the characters, could care less if they lived, if they died. I will say the whole, like, bang of an ending was pretty cool. I liked how everything was described. I liked the way that, I think I said it earlier, that Stinger is described. And I liked the gory, gruesome details that were described. But again, I feel like the story lost me so much because it was so long and I just couldn't keep up with the characters. There was too much going on and this like alien thing, like taking over different people's bodies and stuff, like that whole aspect was cool, but like listening via audiobook, I was like, there's too many names and too many people going on. That it was just a lot. And then like the main people we were focused on that had this alien, which the alien that was like trapped in the little girl body, really didn't like that. They ended up nicknaming her and calling her Dolphin the whole time. Like, but why? For why? Whatever. Yeah, I think that there was some really cool descriptions. I think that it was overall a decent alien pick, but the characters really sucked. I think I'm landing at a 3-star. I think it's another 3. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope it was somewhat entertaining. I've been filming this video for months and months and months, and I am so glad. Besides Ice Plant Barbarians that I have to get to by the end of this month. Besides that, I'm done with aliens for quite a while. Let me just tell you. Anyways, I'm going to bed. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in my next one.